We don't always have enough time to cover all of the recent news, so here with a recap is one of our writers, Amber Ruffin, in a segment we call Amber Says What?
You guys! Things have been crazy. First of all, Jay-Z joined Instagram, and I was like, what? Then he amassed 2 million followers in one day, and I was like, what? Then he quit a day later, and I was like, what a smart move. Then Facebook changed its name to Meta, and I was like, what? Meta? How am I gonna adjust to this very big name change? Let me try it out. Uncle Joe, quit believing everything you read on Meta. Oh, still works. But I'll tell you what doesn't work, my stubborn Uncle Joe. Then the Emoji Council released a beans emoji, and I was like, what? Council? There's a whole emoji council? I was like, yes, beans cute, but council? They all wearing robes and conjuring up visions in an orb council? Emoji council. What? Which one of us got the meaning for the word council wrong? Council? As in a council met and deliberated and they came up with this? It's emojis. All you need is a 24-year-old improviser with a pad and a pen. Man, that emoji news had me all like... And then I heard Bezos offered Tom Hanks a seat on his rocket ship to space, and I was like, what? Tom Hanks doesn't want to go to space? That man was in Apollo 13. He does not want to go to space with you. This man had to land a plane in the Hudson. He has no need to go to space. This man has found true love with a mermaid. He does not yearn to wander to the final frontier. It makes no sense. Then a woman who participated in the January 6th insurrection bragged on social media that she wouldn't go to jail because she's white with blonde hair and has a good job. And I was like, what? Every part of that is wrong. But blonde? There are no blonde people in jail? What? Paris Hilton went to jail. Martha Stewart went to jail. Felicity Huffman, she went to jail. And if you told me those were the only blonde women to ever go to jail, I would believe that. Anyway, that woman was sentenced to 60 days in jail, so it's at least 4 blonde women in jail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Then I found out that Kristen Stewart is getting married, and I was like, what fun! Then I heard that Guy Fieri was gonna officiate, and I was like, what? Guy Fieri? What? I did not know it was gonna be a destination wedding in Flavortown. I love it! And that wasn't even the craziest celebrity wedding news. Then Kal Penn tweeted about being on a plane and sitting near Cardi B and how he wanted her to officiate his wedding, and she tweeted she would, and I was like, what? Because, true story, I sat next to Kal on a flight, too, and he didn't ask me to do Then I found out Aaron Rodgers got COVID, and I was like, this cannot be. Aaron Rodgers, the kid I went to elementary school with? And they were like, no, the Green Bay quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. And I was like, what? And then I found out that he had tricked everyone into thinking that he was vaccinated. And I was like, what? Finally, football has enough drama for me. Just kidding. This is very bad and I hate it. When a reporter asked if he was vaccinated, he said he was immunized. Now, you know he was lying right there. Whenever people use a different word to answer a question, it is a telltale sign they're lying. Hey, are you married? You don't see a ring on my finger, do you? Good enough for me. Now, to Rodgers' credit, he may have been lying, but his whole vibe was trying to tell us the truth. Then, in the Virginia governor's race, there was a commercial where a mom tried to get a book banned because she said it made her son uncomfortable. And I was like, what are you doing with it? Is this child sitting on a book? But it turns out it was a Toni Morrison book. Now, people are always trying to get her books banned from schools, and I'm always like, what? Stories about the effects of slavery make you feel uncomfortable? Bitch, try living them. Then something utterly unbelievable happened. Hundreds of QAnon believers showed up in Dallas because, and this is real, I did not believe like the first like 4 articles I read about it, but it's true. They were expecting to see JFK Jr. Now I read this and was like, what? You were expecting to see JFK Jr.? What? Why did you expect him to show up? And what were you expecting? A man who has not aged, an old man, a zombie? What, do you have a 6th sense? What about senses 1 through 5? What? Who was he rolling with? Santa, the Tooth Fairy, Genghis Khan? What are the rules? Then I found out that they thought JFK Jr. was coming back to be Trump's running mate, and I was like, what? You think a famous Democrat came back from the dead to be the Republican vice president? A position, by the way, which almost got the last guy hung? What? How do you function in your day-to-day life? Because if you shut up waiting for a word from someone who has been dead since 1999, you can't possibly run yourself a bath or open a jar. How do you send or receive mail? Do you have a bank account? What will you do to keep yourself safe from misinformation? Will you take your computer and throw it into the sun? Please, take your computer and throw it into the sun. Uncle Joe, take your computer and throw it into the sun! This has been Amber Says What?